Hello and welcome to this forum with youth with disabilities discussing inclusion. This panel discussion is organized by the Ministry of Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs, and the United Nations here in Grenada, as today is observed as World UN Day. I am Sarana Mitchell, and I will be your moderator for today's panel discussion. But before we move any further, I would like to welcome you who are joining us virtually via Facebook on the Government Information Service and Flow. And of course, those of you here in the conference room of the Windward Islands Research Foundation, WINDRIF, at the St. George's University in Grenada. I would like to now call on Ms. Chrissy Worm-Charles, Director of Social Services in the Ministry of Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs, to deliver welcoming remarks. Ms. Worm.
I want to say a special good evening to everyone in the room and those of who would have joined us virtually, as well as our esteemed panelists today, our youth living with disabilities, and will be sharing their powerful experiences during the course of today's event. So today, really and truly, I am honored to welcome everyone here in what is expected to be a monumental move in the direction of strengthening our inclusive practices and really integrating them in our everyday lives. And the Ministry of Social Development really takes pride in this great accomplishment and is humbled by the number of key stakeholders here today, physically as well as virtually, who have made special accommodations and would have shown their interest really by being a member and even a part of GNCD, as well as interest shown in our young people living with disability. And I want to say this is the first of a forum I've ever visited, right, really with young people leading the charge. And I think it augurs really well for this country, it augurs really well for planning, and it augurs really well for raising and lifting voices by us, for us, and with us. And I don't think we can do anything, without the voices of people who actually walk that path and experience that type of lifestyle, and even being part of that very, very important community within our space. So the ministry is really, really proud to be a part of this initiative, and we look forward to engaging and listening and learning, most importantly. I think there's a lot to be said and a lot to be registered, and a lot of action that needs to be taken from the realities that we are going to be discussing and accessing today on this very important platform. So I want to welcome everyone here, and I know for sure that we're going to have a very good time. We are going to be educated, and we are going to be learning. So thank you so much, the Ministry of Social Development, Gender Affairs, Housing. Look forward to the results from this, and that we can make the necessary changes in terms of our policy, in terms of the quality of services that we offer, and presenting and preserving a space for everyone. This is about inclusion, and this is the right step, the first step of its kind, and we want to commend UN for taking this bold initiative, as well as our drivers, our duty bearers, our actors in this field. So I want to welcome everyone here today, and most importantly, our panelists who we are going to learn from. So thank you so much and welcome.
Just want to say thank you, Ms. Chrissy Worm-Charles, who is the Director of Social Services in the Ministry of Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs here in Grenada. And of course, lived experiences is how we learn how to work with people who live with disabilities. And so today's forum is going to give us an opportunity to listen and learn. Now we welcome Juana Sotomayor, the UN Human Rights Advisor, who will deliver some remarks virtually. Ms. Sotomayor?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Please let me know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you very clearly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon to all the participants, to Mrs. Christy Warren Charles, Director of Social Services, Mr. Delroy Date, Chief Social Development Officer, UN colleagues, and very special welcome to the panelists, Derika, Zinzi, and Josie. Please apologies if I am not pronouncing your names correctly. It is my honor to celebrate UN Day from a human rights perspective. As we all know, human rights are one of the pillars of the United Nations since its beginning, and it is also one of the important elements of the conversation that we are going to have today. This is a special year to 2023 as we celebrate the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And this visionary document 75 years ago did not mention disability, it did not mention youth, it did not mention many things, but it has a broad article that has inspired many movements, many changes, many legislation, including on persons with disabilities through the Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, but also in relation to youth. Article 1 of the Universal Declaration, which is very explicit about all human beings having equality and rights, has served as a light during the 75 years for all of us to have a better understanding of our common humanity and our human rights. And I am really glad that we're having this conversation about inclusion in the context of the 75th anniversary. I also want, if you allow me, to just read a couple of lines from High Commissioner Turk, the High Commissioner for Human Rights in the United Nations, who precisely yesterday had a statement for youth and rights. And he said, young people are between 1/3 and 1/2 of the global population, but they are 100% of the future. I think this is a very powerful way of understanding why we need youth inclusion and why we need young people's voices to chart our path towards the future. One of the questions that is being discussed today is inclusion. And in these regards, I think it is very interesting to have youth and disability together to discuss inclusion. From the perspective of human rights, disability is precisely understood as the kind of barriers that society places into persons who have different abilities or different disabilities. The Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities reminds us that there are various barriers and obstacles that need to be removed, and that removing those barriers is everybody's responsibility, everybody's obligation. So inclusion is as much about specific persons with specific abilities as it is about all of us. We all need to ensure full and effective participation in society, in culture, in activities, in sports, in music, but also in employment, in education, in social services for every person, regardless of their specific abilities or regardless of their specific age. So youth and disability are very much linked by the need for us to ensure inclusion. The other point I wanted to make, and I will be finishing very soon, is that inclusion cannot happen without adequate information adequate accommodations, and also participation. We need to be able to hear each other, to tolerate each other's perspectives, each other's views, each other's goals, as well as each other's particular personalities. And for that, we need to allow participation in different spaces of life, of community life, of social life. So inclusion also means bringing to the light different persons. And this is very important because sometimes when we talk about persons with disabilities, one of the issues is that sometimes some persons have been neglected or kept a little bit hidden from the various activities in society. So inclusion without participation, without information, cannot be fully understood. And in closing, I would like to say that this conversation is also a very interesting way of engaging with how we understand human rights for everyone in Grenada, in the Caribbean, and at the global sphere as well. Thank you very much for this opportunity to join you, and I will stay if there are any questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Juana Sotomayor, who is the UN Human Rights Advisor. Now we go into the meat of why we're here, right? So just so you know, the objectives of this panel discussion to promote the inclusion of voices of youth with disabilities, to establish the link between human rights and inclusion of persons with disabilities, create awareness of the challenges to disability inclusion, eliminate stigma associated with disabilities. And as Juana Sotomayor let us know just now, a few minutes ago, 2023 marks 75 years since the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And as she said, there was no mention of disability or youth. But today, UND, we're talking youth, disability, inclusion. And the UN is asking all to join the movement to help achieve a world of equality, justice, and freedom for all. So I am very happy to introduce our panelists. To my immediate left would be your right, I believe, Zinzi Noel. Now, Zinzi Noel is a dynamic force in the world of advocacy and inclusion. Living with a physical disability known as arthrogryposis multiplex congenita, or AMC for short, Zinzi has not only embraced life's challenges, but excelled in multiple fields. Over to my far left is our second panelist, who is Derica Samuel. Derica is from Mount Horn in St. Andrew and works as an itinerant teacher attached to the Resource Center for the Blind, and has been diagnosed with microphthalmia. And that's it. Do we have our third panelist here? Okay, so we have two persons here today to join with me for us to have some wonderful discussion about inclusion and disabilities. So I'm going to quickly mosey on over to the table. Just give me a little. I'll mosey on over to join the panelists. If you don't mind, Derek, moving over to the middle. So. Hello again. Hello again. I am Sarana Mitchell, and I am happy. I am. Go on. Yeah. Okay, as I was saying, I am Sarana Mitchell, and I'm very happy to be here with you today to discuss disabilities, youth, and of course, inclusion. Before we dive in, Zinzi, could you tell me a little bit about how AMC affects your daily life. Tell me a little bit about AMC, so we know, everybody listening know what AMC is all about. It's on.
So AMC, essentially, you are born with it. So with AMC, I am unable to walk because there is a shortening and tightening of my joints. So it prevents me from walking. It affects many areas. It could affect anywhere you have joints. But for me, it affected my legs and my arms. And with AMC also, you can get scoliosis, which I've had, and I had surgery to correct my scoliosis.
Thank you very much, Zinzi. And now to you, Derica Samuel. Derica, tell me a little about microphthalmia.
Hello?
Yeah, press.
Where it is?
It's on. Okay, good.
Hi, good day, everyone. Microphthalmia is an eye condition where my eyes is not fully developed or it's extremely small. As in my case, one is extremely small, and one is not fully developed. So as a result, I am legally blind. I usually say I'm visually impaired, to not explain it all the time, but I'm legally blind. And yes, that's how it is. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you very much for sharing about what the disabilities that you live with.
Yes.
So tell me let's go to the big I word that we're talking about today, inclusion. What does inclusion mean to you, Zinzi?
Well, inclusion in terms of disability would mean creating a society where we basically are including in every aspect of life. There is no discrimination. People accept us for who we are and accept that we have differences, but we are still able to do a lot of things. It may be that we are able to do things differently, but we are still able to do things just like everyone else.
Derica, what does inclusion mean to you?
For me, inclusion means that persons with disability can coexist in society without any barriers, such as accessibility, education, and of course, discrimination.
So that's what inclusion means to both of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To be a part of society without any discrimination, being able to be a part of everything that in society has. Okay? So has inclusion for persons with disabilities improved over the years, do you think, in Grenada? Let me hear what, Derica, what do you have to say?
Could you repeat the question?
Has social inclusion, being able to be included in society, has it improved over the years, do you think, in Grenada?
In my opinion, it has not improved. There is still a large amount of discrimination, lack of knowledge, and social, unconscious bias.
What about access and opportunities? Like getting the ability to go to school, being able to move around without, bumping into things easily, like, having the sidewalk. Well, Grenada and sidewalk, that's another story. But being able to move around, what do you say?
Well, for me, being able to move around is a little difficult because there's not a lot of accessibilities like markings and so on. Mm-hmm. Like with my vision, I may not be able to see, for example, stairs. If I'm going down a stairs without any markings, or if the tiles is like one color, it will be difficult for me to see. I may have to take extra time to actually go down the stairs. So with that, it's a little difficult. And school, I think there should be more accessibilities in the school system. Yes.
Did you talk about going downstairs? Did you ever have anything happen to you with stairs per se?
Yes. Sometimes I miss what they call it, stairs, a treader or something. Yes. Sometimes this happens.
And have you fallen? Did you, or someone is with you all the time to assist you?
No. Someone is not always with me. You know, sometimes I use the railings and drag my feet sometimes, so I could find the edge and actually go down on the stairs. Yes.
May I ask, why don't you use a cane?
I don't think I directly need a cane.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Good. And Zinzi, tell me, has social inclusion for persons with disabilities improved over the years? Access? Let me hear what you have to say.
I would say somewhat, but not greatly enough to impact our lives in a big way. You know, to go out into society, we would need things like maybe buses that we are able to get on. And there, at this point in Grenada, we don't have those things. So I am not able to be fully independent in a country like this. You know, I would often have to have persons assist me in going out. And when you mentioned the sidewalk, I had a chuckle because I've had experiences where I would be on the sidewalk and then there is a big pole in the middle of the sidewalk and I would have to go down into the road so that I could pass. So in terms of accessibility for social being, is not really there as yet, I would say.
Okay. Well, I must point out that the Ministry of Education received some buses with that allows for wheelchairs and so on a few weeks ago. So that's a plus. So we're in a step in the right direction. So that is happening. But public buses per se, they do not have that space. I can speak, for example, where I live, there's a young man with a wheelchair, and the bus drivers I always admire the way that they would stop, get out, lift him up, put him in the front seat, close the wheelchair, and get him in to get to where he's going. I have often wanted to record it, but I don't want to ask permission. I don't want to invade privacy, but I can speak about it. I have seen it happen. So there is some heart thumping out there. You know, there has been some movements to some sort of heartening towards people with disabilities. So that much we can say, but there's a lot of work to be done. Because as you rightfully pointed out, on the sidewalks, the few sidewalks that we do have, there are holes, and then you have to go down into the road, and you have to compete with the traffic, the moving traffic, and then you have to find a way to get back on the sidewalk. So all these things have to be taken into consideration. So thank you, Zinzi. Thank you, Derica. Those of you who are just joining, we're having a discussion about inclusion with youth with disabilities here today on UN Day. So sit down, enjoy, listen from the lived experiences, people who live with it. They're telling you what they experience, how we can listen to them and help them so that they can be included and be able to do things just as the rest of us are doing. So my next question is, I'm going back to my girl Zinzi. Derica, hold up. I'm coming to you just now. What are the most challenging issues you have had to deal with? You talk about the going down on the road and so on, what are they and how have you approached that? You told us one physical, whereby you driving along and you have to go down into the road. What other issues do you have?
I don't think I could pinpoint exactly one specific challenge because I think that each time I go outside, it's a challenge in itself. Like I always constantly have to face something because of course I am different and the accommodation for people that are different or like have physical disabilities like me is very limited. So to say a specific challenge, I don't know. Like I feel like in terms of stores or those types of things, there are a lot of stores that don't have ramps for me to get into, or they don't have space inside the stores for me to move about. Let's say I want to go into a bookshop to get some books because I love reading. It's so crammed in there that you can't really move around to look or to feel included or to do something by yourself as someone with a physical disability. So I think that every time I go out is a challenge. It's not just one major challenge, but it's just an everyday thing when I have to go out.
What about using public restrooms for people with using a wheelchair? Sometimes you see the sign up, wheelchair accessible. How accessible is that?
For me, not very accessible. I have to be very honest. It's not very accessible for me. I remember there is one occasion when I went into a bathroom that says accessible, and then there is not enough space on the side for my wheelchair to go between there to, and then for me, I don't really have that upward strength to really pull up myself to go across to the toilet. So it's not really accessible for me per se. So I haven't had much success with that area.
I can speak with Zinzi. I did a report on Zinzi, a special on Zinzi, and I saw what it took to get her out of the house, up the steep incline where she lives. Like she's down here and she has to go up, and her father's sitting here, bless his heart, lifts her up the steep incline to get her out to get to the vehicle. And then when she gets to the road, then there's no sidewalk. So I saw the process it took to get her from point A to point B. Yes. So I have had the experience of speaking with Zinzi before. So let's talk with Derica now. Derica, tell me what challenges you talk about the tiles, all of that. What other issues have you encountered?
Well, as Zinzi mentioned, there's a lot of challenges we as persons with disability face every day. But to be more specific, example, the supermarkets. There is no accessibility for a person who is blind or visually impaired as me. Example, there is no large prints. The print is extremely small. So if I don't ask for help or use my phone, there is no way I could get to know the price. And sometimes when I do ask for help, I'm faced with a lot, with a negative attitude. Yes. And, sometimes I'm not seeing the price. I'll go to the counter. It's even too expensive, so I have to go back and get something different, because I didn't see the price in the first place. Yes. Also, one of the examples from the question was with jobs. Persons with disability don't feel comfortable enough when applying to a job because we fear we fear criticism and discrimination, unconscious bias from the employers, And yes, also when paying bills, sometimes we, in the line, the cashiers may be closed off, we didn't notice, and then we will keep going to them without noticing that, it's closed up because we didn't verbally say, we're closed up for the moment. We might put up a sign or something, but I won't see it from the distance I'm from. So, yes, that is some of the challenges I go through almost every day.
So, Derica, you talk about your phone, and I have asked, I can see that you have large prints on your phone. What assistive device, what app are you using, and how long have you been using this, and how has it been helping you?
Well, the thing with the phone, they already have this built-in apps like the large. I could just enlarge in my size. It has stuff like TalkBack. It even have apps like Natural Reader and so on. So this is some of the things I will use to, use my phone with confidence and And it will also help me, my phone helped me gain a lot of independence. So I will not be asking anybody for help, but I will just use my phone. Yes.
There you have it. I see you before me, two young ladies who love their independence.
Yes.
I mean, if not without the phone, with the phone and other assistive devices that we have now that really help out, they're in trouble. I mean, I remember Zinzi saying she loves her independence. She wishes that she didn't have to ask anybody for anything. But as it happens, so it is. So we have spoken about challenges, about problems. Coming from you now, you live it. We want solutions. Let me hear. We have the problems, so you've seen it, you know. What can we do to help you better? Any one of you start?
Okay. Well, for me, for example, the same supermarket, so anywhere else, they could implement larger prints, or even maybe in the workplace, assign someone who is trained to, assist persons with disability, not just me, others with disability, so they can, shop with comfort. Also, for the workplace, create a accessible and inclusive environment. Such as, for example, those who's speech impaired. You could have the closed captions when doing presentation, If you have to use a computer, you could use apps like JAWS and so on. So we could feel comfortable in the workplace and not, feel like we don't belong there. Yes.
Great. Zinzi, thank you very much. Dereka.
Well, for me specifically, I can talk about having more space in stores. Yes, more
To
space.
be able to move around.
Ramps, Also, I think that when we're implementing laws or policies, that we don't just implement them, but we actively see that persons are following those implementations. Because often we would hear, oh, this law is being passed, that law is being passed, and then nothing afterward. We don't see persons adhering to those laws or anything like that. And I think we need more of the implementation and follow-ups in order for true development to happen. It's not just saying something, it's actually seeing and continually following up on that law or implementation. So I would say that, and as Dereka was talking about jobs, I've had to create my own revenue, because from the moment persons would see me, they would think that I'm incapable without seeing my qualifications, without seeing what I'm truly capable of. And I feel like, you go to school and everything, and people will tell you education is the key to success. And then for persons who have disabilities, it's not the case. They don't really see what you're capable of. They don't even take a chance to look at your educational background or even give you the chance to showcase what you can do. And so I think there needs to be more education in that aspect, to teach people that just because someone has a disability doesn't mean that they are incapable, but in fact they are indeed capable.
Thank you very much, Zinzi. Thank you, Dereka. Now, we're talking about disabilities, and although I am not 20 or 21, I do fall under the disabilities area. I live with bipolar disorder, and mental health is big taboo. And they see you, and they might just simply they see the physical disabilities, so it's kind of okay to an extent. But people like myself, you hear the C word, you hear the M word, you hear the L word. You know, if you know the words that I'm talking about, you know, crazy, mad, lunatic, all those words thrown at you, you know, and as Zinzi is saying, they don't recognize your abilities. They only see what they've heard or the diagnosis attached to you. So I can add to what they're talking about here. And again, disclaimer, I'm not 21. I'm not a youth.
We need that.
So, you've spoken, both of you, very well about what you see as solutions. What would those solutions mean to you? Like being able to go in and get a job, no problem, nobody looking, oh, she's in a wheelchair, she's gonna be a problem for us, we have no ramp, we have no this, blah, 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 blah. What would that mean to you? What would that mean to you, Zinzi? What would that mean to you, Derica?
You can go first.
Well, for me, I will feel much more comfortable, much more confident. You know, won't have to overthink all the time, and I will gain much more independence. So yes.
I know, like, okay, so you are working with the, you're one of the lucky ones attached to the school for the blind, the resource center. If not there, where would you love to be employed?
Well, most likely social services, because I love, you know, the social work and so on, like psychology, all this type of stuff. So yes.
Wow. Social services, I hope you're listening. Zinzi?
What it will mean to me, it will mean independence, not just in the social or physical sense, but also in the financial sense. Being able to get a job with ease would help out tremendously. I mean, not having to be judged every day based on my physical difference. It will mean the world. It will mean freedom, basically. Yes.
And that's what, you know, the UN is talking about with human rights. Equality, freedom, and all of those good words. So, all right. Can you tell me personally, both of you, a personal story where your rights have been challenged? I mean, what did you do? How did it make you feel? You know, what? Some experience that you had regarding you being in a wheelchair, Zinzi, how someone reacted to you. How did you handle it?
Well, people generally are very nice. Generally, are very nice towards, you know, persons. Sometimes they might want to help, but not too sure if they're invading. But I would say a personal story. Most of my challenges, I would say, stems from the medical field.
Elaborate.
Because there are instances where I've been sick and I have to go to the hospital, and then when I'm in the hospital, admitted into the hospital, they're often very reluctant to help.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, they're very reluctant to help. And oftentimes I would have to speak up for myself, or my parents, because sometimes I'm a bit timid and shy. Well, I used to be.
She used to be.
But yes, I would have to speak up for myself to get the assistance that I would need to really advocate for my rights in terms of, medical needs and stuff like that. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, Derica.
Well, it's a recent situation. Recently, I did a exam. To be specific, a CXC math exam. I applied for accommodations, large print, and a reader. I even went to a doctor, paid for the letter to show that I have a disability and the accessibility I need. However, on the day of the exam, none of the accommodations were met. So there were no large prints, no reader. Thankfully, I always have a backup plan. I had a backup plan to get my own reader. Although I had the reader, it was still difficult because there was no large prints. And with mathematics, you just have to see it to learn it.
And sometimes you see it and it's still okay.
Yes. So imagine somebody is calling out long sums of number for you and you have to remember all that in your head. Sometimes I have to take extra time and, write down all the numbers so I could remember and then work it out. So it was a very difficult exam, twice as hard, because math is already hard. But thankfully, I got through and I got the maths.
You got it! So yes. Good for you, Derica. I want to, you said you always have a backup plan. Zinzi, do you think that because you live with a disability, both you and Derica, does it mean that you always have to think ahead triple times more than everybody else?
Of course, all the time.
Course.
I mean, if we don't, we'll be in trouble.
Okay, so those of you just joining us, we're having this discussion with some youth here about disability and inclusion. We want to be included. I'm including myself. Again, disclaimer, I'm not 21. Yes, so tell me, Zinzi, what is one thing you would like to say to people about your disability? I know you told us what it is already, how it affected you, but when people see you and they're like shocked, what is one thing you would like them to know?
Apart from my disability, I'm a normal person. That pretty much sums it up. I'm a normal person. I'm a normal person. I am capable. I am gifted. I have talents. And oftentimes I'm the one that's always helping people out, in whatever aspect that I can, whether it be in graphic design, writing, because I'm a writer.
She's an author.
Yes, I'm an author.
A poet.
Yes. And I love graphic design, so I'm always helping in that aspect as well. So I often help people. So I'm just a normal person, just as everyone else.
Okay, thank you, Zinzi. And Derica, what do you want people to know about you?
My disability is not inability. I may carry a task different from everyone else, but that doesn't mean I cannot do it. I can still achieve my goals and live a successful life.
Okay. Am I on? Am I on? Okay. Just want to make sure because I touched the little push button. So. Anyhow, so thank you, Derica. Thank you, Zinzi. So far, we are hearing from the people with lived experiences. And if we want to make changes, it has to come from... Okay, am I on? See? So yes, as I was saying, you know, we are listening to the people with lived experiences. And if we want to make changes, if we want to see change in Grenada or the rest of the region, the world, we have to listen to the people who live it. Anyone has a question for me right now?
Sorry, just the human rights advisor who's online and has to leave in 2 minutes. Just wanted to ask the panelists a few questions.
Okay,
go ahead,
certainly.
Juana.
Okay, certainly. Thank you for joining us, for being there with us. Please share your questions with us.
Thank you very much. I have one question and one comment, if I may. Derica, early on in her very interesting, very, very good points, she mentioned that discrimination can be a barrier, and I think it would be interesting to hear more how discrimination can be a barrier in her experience, because that puts the onus on all of us. That reflects on how we act in relation to persons with disabilities. And she has also mentioned more than once unconscious biases, and I think it would be good to hear a little bit more about that. And then another comment that also came out, and I think it is important to remember, is the issue of support and care. The families, the parents were mentioned, and of course, there is a lot of work that families, parents, mothers and fathers and brothers, sisters, grandparents always put into ensuring that persons with disabilities can do all the wonderful things these two young women have told us, and to some extent be independent. But I also think it is important to remember that some of the support and care is often unpaid. It's a very strong and heavy toll on the families. And part of that support and care, from a human rights perspective, should also be more in the hands of the state. There should be more support to the carers, if I may say it that way. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sotomayor. So, Derica, you heard the question, right?
Could you repeat the one with discrimination? I didn't hear clearly.
Yes, the one with discrimination. Could you repeat so that she hears it clearly? Thank you.
Sure. Just early on, that discrimination can also be a barrier. And I would like to ask you if you could develop a little bit more. What do you mean by discrimination being a barrier? And you linked it with unconscious biases. I think that is a very important concept. And I would like, if possible, to hear a little bit more. Thanks.
Okay, all right.
Well, discrimination as a barrier simply means that whenever someone judges you or laugh at you or tease you, you lack confidence with doing whatever, you want to do. Sometimes, for example, you may want to, we're in the social media world, so imagine you want to make a video, but you may not want to post it because you will believe that somebody will put a comment and maybe tease you or laugh you or ask you a foolish question, So yes, and for unconscious bias, it simply means that even though some people may be aware of your disability, unconsciously they still judge you, They will automatically believe like, oh, Derica won't be able to do this. That may be too difficult for Derica, without even asking, So, yes.
Does that help? Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yes, I fully agree. It was more to explore this concept because, as I said, the way we all of us act with each other and with our beliefs of what a person is capable of doing or not is a big barrier to what that person can actually show us. Or even if we ask directly, we can get a better sense than assuming many things. So I thank you, Derica, for explaining a bit more those concepts. Thank you.
Thank you. So you see the whole idea of judgment without education, understanding how it limits and the bullying associated with it, you know? And, you know, Juana Sotomayor raised the point whereby, you know, the state should do more to support the families. My next question to the both of you is, how did those around you manage your disability growing up? Zinzi, we could go to you.
Well, I think those around me managed pretty well. Whether it been friends or family, they always try to include me in things. They always try to see how they can make my life easier. And I could speak about my mom or my dad. My dad will always speak up for me. Always.
Thank you, Dad.
Yes. And my mom will go out of her way to find out little bits of information to ensure that I am comfortable, to ensure that I get the help that I need. So my family has done pretty well in trying to accommodate me, I can see, as well as friends. My friends are super awesome.
Wow, I love that. I want to ask you, Zinzi, was it always super awesome with friends from childhood, from baby, growing up, going to school? How did they treat you?
Yes, I've always found it easy to make friends because I'm a very sociable person. And there was no bullying because my mouth big and it bad.
I like that.
So, yeah, friends were easy to come by.
Okay, good, thank you. What about you, Derica? How did your family manage?
Well, growing up, persons around me wasn't really educated about my disability. It was either they believe I cannot see at all, or they don't know the full extent of my sight. So they think I could see that when in reality, you know, I cannot see it. Even in my early school years, I had a lot of bullying, you know, some children even scorned me, even though I had, you know, my friends. Thank God for them. We're still friends up to this day. Yes, even though I had friends and so on, you know, children used to scorn me and stuff like that. The adults, well, the same unconscious bias, you know, they categorize me and just believe I couldn't do that, so they prevented me from a lot of activities and tasks. But thankfully, gradually, this attitude and beliefs has changed. And now people still ask me questions, but not with, you know, a bad motive behind it. They'll just maybe genuinely want to know. And this is understandable. So, yes.
Okay. You know, I asked about, you know, having to plan ahead and so on. How has your disability become an ability? Do you understand where I'm going with this? Yes. Derica, how has that disability become an ability for you?
Well, my disability is my biggest motivation because once anything a sighted person can do, I can do it. And also there's persons who had worse situation than me, you know, who succeeded in life. So I'm thankful that I at least have little vision and could still do a lot of things. So it is my biggest motivation. And for me, I love to prove things. So if someone tell me I cannot do something, I will definitely do it. So, yes.
You like a challenge? Yes. Okay, understood. Zinzi, how has your disability become your ability?
Well, as Derica said, I could relate to that, you know. Once someone says, you can't do this, automatically on my agenda, done. Yeah. And I think that, you know, having a disability allows you to be more innovative and creative. You find new ways to get things done.
Yes.
And that is how it has become an ability for me. I often find ways to do things easier and better, you know. I'm always innovative and creative with whatever I have to come up with whatever I have to get done. So that is how it has become an ability for me.
Okay. And what about some young person out there who may have AMC or some other physical disability or blindness, and he or she does not know what to do because, you know, the bullying, they feel down, they feel depressed. What do you say to that child or even an adult living with some disability? What do you say? Derica?
Well, as an itinerant teacher, I deal with visually impaired students and totally blind students. And I believe I have a deep understanding for whatever struggles they have because I went through it myself. So it's very easy for me to give advice and motivate them. You know, even use myself as inspiration, you know? And especially for my blind students, I will say, you know, you could do this, you could do it many different ways. I will always try my best to motivate them and allow them to feel better of themselves. So, yes.
Thank you, Derica. And Zinzi?
Well, I would say in life, whether you have a disability or not, you will come across challenges. And it is within human nature to survive. So we would often find ways to survive, to just survive, you know. So, you know, I think that we have to remember that challenges actually build our strength. So we have to see how we can navigate challenges. We have to learn from challenges, and it only makes us a better person. So that is what I can say. I can say just find ways to motivate you to continue. And you can, 5 years, 15 years from now, you can see the growth. Or even immediately, you can see the growth. So just continue. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Zinzi and Derica. So, you know, those of you in the audience, any questions from you? Yes? Please use the microphone. Oh, after you. And you're loud enough, right? So you'll be able to speak out, or they can pass the microphone to you. Yes, sir.
Yes, good afternoon. I'd just like to say congratulations to the panelists. The discussion was very informative, and I've learned a lot. My name is Timon Charles. I work with the Central Statistical Office, so I deal with data. Just a question to both panelists. What are some of the behavioral changes that you would like to see from society as relates to persons living with disability, like yourselves?
Behavioral. That's the operative word. Behavioral. Okay, Derica, you wanna attack this one?
For me, just treat me as a normal person. Don't be extra nice because I have a disability, and don't be mean because I have a disability. Just act towards me as everybody else. Yes.
Zinzi, anything you want to add?
I would say that if you lack the knowledge about what it takes to treat someone with a disability, you can take it upon yourself and research. Because I think education is the most important aspect in this avenue. So if you want to know how to treat someone with a disability, ask them. Or Google is free, Google it.
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT too, you know.
Yes, and this gentleman here has a question.
Well, not really a question.
Okay.
Just a bit of my personal background.
Okay.
I
go
was
ahead.
born with a physical challenge. I couldn't move at all.
Okay.
Today, I'm a qualified electrician
Excellent.
and technician. If you look at stand up, if you look at the T-shirt that I have on, it says Latouche Appliance Repairs and Electrical Services. So I run my own show. Right? So I'm saying all that to say this. Not because you were born in a particular way, that does not say that you cannot get somewhere in life. All we need, and I'm going to say we, all we need is not a $5, is a hand up to be able to earn that $5 for ourselves.
The opportunities.
Exactly. The opportunities. Job-wise, it is not there. For decades, I'm way over 21. For decades, I've been trying to find a job in this country. And that was a no-no. 2016, when I got a scholarship to go and study, I thought, okay, you know what? Here's the end of me looking for a job. It has been said that at the age of between 5 and 12, I got shocked about 12 or 15 times. All because I've always had the inclination for electrical or electronics. So I've been dabbling with this thing. On time. Exactly. Because it's like a lot of what they taught me in school, I already was like, wow, that's a walkthrough. So I'm saying all that to say this, not because you may be physically challenged or visually impaired, don't let that hold you back in life. There's always a way to get around it or to get over it. But there is a way to be successful and to be someone in life.
Thank you very much. Can you share your name with us? Can you share your
It's
name?
Kimani Latouche.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Latouche. Thank you very much, Mr. Latouche, for your sharing. Yes?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Ramona, UN Women. So we've heard about all the serious stuff. So how about we talk about some of the fun stuff? I see before me two very vibrant ladies. So how do you participate in the social scene? As you can hear from my accent, I'm not from here. I moved here in February, and for Spice Mass, I was out to all. I went to every single thing. I ain't sleep, I ain't nothing. So are you able to participate in cultural and creative activities like that? And if you aren't, what would help you to do that? And also, like in general, how do you participate? What's your social life like? Where do you go? What do you do? You know, the fun stuff.
For me, I've been in 2 parties this year. My friend made it happen. You know, it always takes someone around you to be like, okay, you've been in the house too long, let's go out. You know, because I am often home, mostly every day I'm home. And sometimes my friends would be like, no, I find you in the house too long, let's go out. And so they would take me out. So in terms of my social life, it has improved from the years, from the coming years, no. But challenges to get to the social events or while at the social events, there have been minor challenges, but not, in a large way where it could prevent me from actually participating. So I would say that it has been pretty good in that aspect. So, yeah.
What's your favorite soca for 2023?
That is a hard question because I love soca music.
Thank you, Cece. What about you, Dereka?
Well, for me, I have a very active social life. I go everywhere. I even used to play fancy mess one time. I even go to shows. The only challenge I have with, the vision, I may not be able to see it on the stage clearly, but, once you're in the stadium, the big screens is there. So, yes, I go hiking, which I don't like. And my favorite place of all, the beach. I love the beach, so I go very regular, and few parties here and there, which, my social life is active. Yes.
Wow. I can talk. Nah. Anybody else? Another question?
Yes, I just wanted to ask a question. My name is Anne Greaves. I'm one of the directors of Friends of the Mentally Ill, and I'm also the president of the Social Workers Organization here in Grenada. You spoke about implementation of laws, and I just wanted to ask, do you think that a Disability Act would make a difference to your life if persons are held accountable? There are penalties for persons who would discriminate against you, especially in the job situation. And do you think also that would? I'm actually very concerned about persons who are housebound, or maybe not housebound, but because of discrimination and stigma, their families would keep them hidden. And I do believe there are a lot of hidden persons with disabilities here in Grenada.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering what it is that you think we could do to make a difference. The Act, Grenada has signed on to the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities for a very long time, but we haven't got an Act. So I want to know your views on that. And thank you so much for making this a wonderful event to both of you. I really do admire your tenacity. Bless you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Zinzi. I remember you raised that about the policies.
Yes, it would actually help because, as I said, oftentimes we would have laws placed and no action afterward.
Mm-hmm.
So it would help greatly if people are penalized for not following certain laws. And what was the next question? I forgot. But I think was the housebound individuals,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
what you can do. I think the ministry needs to start the initiative first. Because if you see, persons higher up actually doing what they need to do, then we would follow. We oftentimes you hear the talk, but what about the actions? If you see the actions coming out from the talk, then we would move right along with it. So that is what I have to see. And more education, always more education in terms of that.
Thank you, Zinzi. Derica, do you want to add?
Although the acts will work, as Zinzi said, it's all about being educated. If they are educated and fully understand disability, it might not even have to need an act in the first place, They would just see us as equals, So, yes.
Well, seeing that we don't have that level of education, the act is needed and education, both work hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, anybody else?
Okay, well, my name is Victor Philip and I'm Zinzi Farah. And just to start off with, just to say, going back with some of the questions you asked her, how she get about, I could tell you since a little kid, she always wanted to be independent. She didn't want you to help her do anything. So I give her that encouragement. Even up to now, I would say to her, if you need something, you need to go somewhere, tell me. But she will try to see how she could find a way around it because I'm busy myself. But going back to laws and stuff like that, I think Grenada on a whole, and I can't speak about the other Caribbean country, but I think Grenada on a whole, because I've been fighting a lot. I've been fighting, they see my face a lot, and I will talk a lot. it seems to me, and when we use the word education, we have to be careful with the word education. Just show it over, because education in its sense is a holistic thing. It's about having the materials and using it and utilizing it, rather than, I would like to call it certification. More people are certified and not educated. So I think we need to go down the line. And as Zizi had included, we have to start from the top. You know, because for instance, when Zinzi had been going to school, I was in England studying, and I remember, I sent down a wheelchair for her, and then after I went to a supermarket one time, and I think Tesco's, and I see this lady coming with this thing driving. And first thing that comes to my head, I look at independence of Zinzi. So I sacrificed myself to make sure that I buy it and bring it around. Just to give a little joke, when I brought it down, and I went to Zinzi home because I don't live with her mom, or whatever. So I brought it there. And the mom said, where are you going with this big thing? How did the child go to that? And while she kept talking, I just take Zinzi, I put her onto the seat, and I showed her the controls. He has a rabbit and he has a tortoise for slow and fast, and then anything to go forward. And while the mother was crying, how did the child go use that? Why did you bring that for? Zinzi is making wrongs on the line. You know, and I saw it from then, that her independence. And she had fun with it, because when horses, because they live far from the school and they have to walk down a couple miles, as you know where she lived. Mm-hmm. And her brothers and sisters and others, and they would walk down with her. And what she will do, she said, guys, I'm putting it on a rabbit. Let's go. You know? So she had fun. But on top of that is that even in the school, I had to go to Magdalene College when she was going there and get donations and stuff like that, and build my own ramps, because nobody was in. And I'm saying it is, as we said, we keep talking about disability and stuff like disability is just, as you said, probably a physical, or as you say, blindness or whatever it is. But some of these, well, not some, a lot of them have more ability than others, educational-wise and stuff like that. And we must see it holistically, right, and make them included. When I used to be a tutor at MCC, 2 years before, I'm saying my daughter, and there was a next one at Anglican High School, what is her name? Anya. Is going to be coming here. We need to prepare for this students. And I didn't stop until they put the ramps in. You understand?
But thank you.
Yeah. Yes. And another thing is the building, and that's for the building code. You know, as she said about the laws, these things are in law. It is in law. But I think what we have here, again, is who you know. So the planning, you have to draw the plan for the place. It must have it in order to get passed. But when it gets passed, nobody is following up to make sure that, because in St. George's, all buildings supposed to have a ramp getting into it, right? To give them access. And yet for all, they're just throwing it off the door. You have to start it on top. Do it have it in Parliament? You know, do it have it in ministries? Okay. I was happy to see University of the West Indies, she's doing a bachelor's in psychology, and she went there for the semester starting. And one of the persons there used to be a co-worker of mine, and so she knows Zinzi going to TAMCC, so she knows she had to come. She makes sure they put some board ramps and so on. But why board ramp? It should be there all the time. Mm-hmm. So I think much more needed to do in where it concerned about those things. We need to have it in places. Make sure it is there. Give them that chance and opportunity. The other thing, again, is what I would say a bias of not knowledge thinking. Is, for instance, when we have kids like them, we might be working for a certain amount of money, but they cost more than what you call the ordinary kids.
This one is set to my
right. And so there is a law that says that, for instance, Mr. Boson had brought up when, before I think Anna's mother, before she got to TAMCC, had written to, the then Prime Minister, Dr. Kit Mitchell, for some assistance for her, because she cannot work that much, and she need a lot more money to send her to school or whatever. So I think they had come up with the fact of giving the special need students $500 towards the schooling every month. Mm-hmm. And they wanted to make it into law, but it didn't happen. So probably this is something they could check it, they could look at. right? As far as I'm concerned, I think that special needs children, anywhere, whether it's SG or whatever, it should be free.
Okay.
No, I think it should be free.
said it.
Yes.
Mr. Victor Phillips said it.
Yes. And so when that happened, they called me and they tell me, look, there's something passed in cabinet so that probably Zinzi could get it. So I had to go to the social department and I had to have an interview me and my wife. Me and my wife teach at TAMCC. So, oh, you're all making enough money. So I tell them, if you understand business or accounting and stuff like that, our money that we get is not the real actual capital that we spend. Because I have to spend more for her. Right? I didn't have to buy a transportation because I want my kid to have the same opportunity as everybody else. So I was forced to buy a van so to make sure that I can take her there and there. Now you have to take all that into account. I mean, if someone could afford, they could afford and they say, you don't have to worry, it's all right. But I think they should be included in all things and given the opportunity and not being biased because of where somebody works. Because again, it's how much you have left after you pay your bills. Right. And what you think, and I think it's that. So thank you very much. I am happy that you're all having that, and I hope that it reaches a lot of people, and that we should really put it out there, and people should really engulf these people. Zinzi is a marvelous little girl, and I'm telling you. And for people who don't know, you go on Amazon and you just put Zinzi Noel, and you're going to see the amount of book and papers fly up. You know, and she kept going. So again, I think what we need to do when we see people like that, we need to encourage them and help them in whatever way we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Phillips. So we have some people online.
We do, but before that, I believe the Ministry of Social Development had some feedback on everything that's going on. And I have to say as well that the Human Rights Advisor who just appeared here, she is running a UN Disability Inclusion consultation in Barbados in early, I think it's about the 10th of November.
Okay.
And so she has asked me to specially invite the young ladies by Zoom.
Oh, great.
If they could join by Zoom. So before you leave, please give me your email addresses.
So you have to share your contacts.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. He's Senator Alexis. I'm with the Ministry of Social Development and Gender Affairs. I am the Senior Program Officer for the Division of Gender and Family Affairs. And when the opportunity arose following conversations with Fiona, how can we make UND different? How can we make it significant? And for which cohort of our population that we wanted to see represented as part of the discussion. The first population that popped in and remained as the focus was persons with disabilities. And we wanted to focus primarily on children with disabilities, so we do have that component, but we also wanted to hear from the youth what the experiences are. Now, the ministry we do recognize that we have work to do as a state body. We have ratified the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. We recognize that. We also recognize we have work to do to get to the point where we can actually say that we are gender responsive and socially inclusive. And some of the areas that we have been working on from our space is looking at capacity building for persons with disability, not just capacity building, but livelihood training under the Engender Project. We are also in the process of construction of how to put it? It's a long-winded thing. Climate smart, persons with disability, disaster risk reduction, and there's another acronym that I can't pull right now, multipurpose center, that we are going to be constructing with the intention that it would be the first of its kind, not just in Grenada, but in the Caribbean, to ensure that we have a facility where persons with disability can either earn livelihoods, but also when we have disasters, there's a space designed particularly in mind for persons with disabilities.
Excellent.
Apart from that, we are also in the process of getting a consultancy to do a comprehensive disability policy and action plan. This is something that we need to do from state. Now, I do know that GNCD has done one, but that would be from the non-state actors. As state actors, we recognize this is our role, this is our responsibility.
Go ahead. That was just something coming through.
So we do recognize that we're making strides and moving towards having building out. Something else that we have been on the table for discussion is a disability unit. And based on what we would have heard this afternoon from Zinzi and Derica, we do recognize that this is definitely a direction that we need to hold the course and push forward to have that happen. By us, for us, not without us. So if we are pushing the agenda of leaving no one behind, our persons with disabilities, our youths, our children, our students, our adults with disabilities have to be part and parcel of that dialogue. We cannot leave them behind. We do not want it to continue on the pathway of they are the invisible population. We do recognize that they bring value to the table, and we need to stop using the deficit lens, only seeing what not is, and let's recognize what is. Okay, so thank you so much.
Thank you very, very, very much for sharing. So now we go to
Something very important, right?
Okay, certainly.
Led by Isinta through the Gender and Family Affairs, we have begun the process of training our first responders in sign language. Right?
Excellent.
So at least, and our hope is that when we integrate the disability unit, right, because we provide support for disabled communities, more or less, but really and truly the vision for this disability unit is for persons living with disability leading the charge, right? And that is our vision, and we are working towards that assiduously. We have put it forward, and hopefully it would be, approved, right? But it is there. And we're really looking forward to it. I know we do a lot of talking, right? But really about action now. And it's very difficult sometimes sitting, because I am a social worker, first and foremost, right? In terms of advocacy and all of that. And I sit on different spaces. And it's always very difficult to sit in meetings like these, looking at our people living with disabilities, just people with different abilities, all right? And having to always listen to the fight of the parents, right? And it's always very moving to see that if a parent sits down, nothing will happen. They literally have to fight. And, it's time as a society that we recognize that fight, as advocacy, but not a necessity, because it is the right of everyone to experience joy in this life. We have human rights, we are human beings. Right, and I'm so very happy that I came here today, right, to sit and listen to the youth, right, and to see how brilliant they are. We know that for a fact, but to sit within that space, I think it's important. And it's time that you take the leadership, right, in that space, driving your intentions forward, by us, for us, and nothing really without us. And the voice of the youth definitely has a part to play. Right, so we continue to support, and we continue to listen and try to make amendments and do less talking and more action. Okay.
Thank you very, 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 very much. So we see the ministry has a lot to roll out. We're looking forward to that. So we have some questions online.
A comment was made, and the Grenada National Council for the Disabled wants to expound on that.
Oh, great.
That was said by
Certainly.
social.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Colleen Pesaro from Grenada National Council of the Disabled.
Just to expound on what Isinta spoke about with the national policy, we do have a policy, but it's in draft. So it's just a matter of getting it passed through cabinet, and you know the long pants with that. However, but it's the truth, huh? But however, as Mr. Philip was speaking about the physical planning and so forth, Grenada signed and ratified the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And physical planning, there is a part of the drawings that whenever persons draw a building, it's supposed to have ramp, and it's supposed to have side rail, handrail, and all of these things. But however, when they go to construct buildings, it's a part of the plan. But whenever it's built, it's omitted.
Yes.
But then we often wonder, why is the building being passed and then these things are omitted? But whenever we have meetings with physical planning, it's always the same thing, that they don't have enough manpower to check. That's always their story. We have been in dialogue back and forth with them in relation to that. When Zinzi was going to McDonald College, GNCD was a part of getting the 5 ramps for her classes. When Zinzi started college, and we had to be with the ramp, Mr. Philip is there, it was a back and forth because they want to do it at one particular class. And we said, no, she should be independent to go to whatever class she has to go. So as Mr. Philip, I see he's shaking his head. So he
Advocacy.
Yes, it was the back and forth, the back and forth. So it's just to say that, implementation is really, really important here. And it's not just about having a plan or, just having a policy, but again, implementation is really important.
Okay, thank you very much. You have a question here?
So I just have 2 comments from online, no questions. And I believe this young lady had her hand up, and then I'll pass to you, Tammy.
Okay.
So someone online is saying, as a parent of a child living with a disability, I would encourage more support groups and services to provide mental, emotional, and physical support.
Definitely.
Also, this person thinks that a registry of children born with disabilities should be done so that you can follow up, especially those that are born at our local hospitals. And then we have someone else is saying that these 2 panelists are very empowering.
Yes, they are. Yes, you are, Dereka. Yes, you are, Zinzi. Question.
Good day. Good day. My name is Latifa Francis. I'm the representative from the Grenada Bar Association. I'm also a sister of someone who's disabled. And I just want to echo the comments of Mr. Philip. I understand it's very difficult, especially not only in the public sphere, as lack of accessibility to go to most places, and the few places you can go, it's a tad bit difficult, including such as, well, the restrooms are a problem, just getting into the buildings. The door spacing is also an issue as well. So you face challenges in that aspect. Then you also face the challenges with, even though you may tailor your home to suit someone with a disability, it's still challenging. There's still challenges and areas that you have to put a lot more effort, that it just is a lot challenging. And I think there need to be more social activities, because when we speak in terms of, oh, we want this done, but we need to look at the emotional, the mental state of not only the person with disability, but their family members. In terms of, we need to have more social groupings and more places where they can meet, dialogue, let's say activities, a center, somewhere that's accessible so they can meet and interact and have a more social, inclusive life, because sometimes disabilities range from different spaces. Sometimes it's not only a lot of physical disabilities as well. And in my case, she wasn't able to attend any of the public schools or anything due to her condition. So it ranged in different, some may be mild, some may moderate, and there are more severe cases. And I think we need to do a lot more, because even though she wasn't able to attend the schools in Grenada, she was able to attend, let's say, foreign institutions where you see the vast disparity. You can see the big difference between what we have here to what we have there, that's able to assist with them. So I understand where you're coming from, Mr. Philip, deeply.
Thank you very much. And
The comment made online about the need for mental and emotional support, it is so important as for every aspect of it, for the people living with a disability and the parents, because it's not easy being a parent of a child with a disability. Go ahead, Tammy.
So I'm Tammy Martin from the Autistic Foundation of Grenada, and I'm hearing some really wonderful talk going on today. It's very exciting to be a part of this group. Also, I would like to say, many of our disabilities are lifelong, and we're not just looking about youth. Youth become young adults become parents, who also need all the services and assistance as when they become parents. And I'd like to know, with respect to planning, with all this new housing being built, how many of those units are wheelchair accessible or designed to support persons with disabilities? If we're looking at housing and people wanting access to have independence, are any of these new homes being provided to persons with disabilities so that they can live an independent life? That's my question, because we're all going to be aging. We have a large population of seniors. They're not going to be able to take care of their children for a long time. And what happens to these children when they're young adults and become parents themselves and want to have their families in a safe home that's accessible for them?
Life cycle. Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Latouche had a question? Sorry.
Two things. One, I have raised the bus terminal issue on more than one occasion. Basically 3 times a week, I'm in town. After work, it's a problem for me to get home. And I've seen persons on crutches trying to get home and cannot get home.
Is it that the buses don't?
4 and 6. Reason being, everybody's rushing. Nobody has the audacity or self-respect to want to hold back and say, you go ahead. I've traveled. I've spent years in England. I've seen it out there. Or there's somebody see you walk in there, you're allowed to go ahead before everybody else
Common courtesy.
comes on board.
Yeah.
Exactly. Common courtesy. That's one. 2, the physical planning issue. I suggested on more than one occasion, if they want, I have the time, I can sit on one, I can assist in sitting on one of those boards. Being from the electrical standpoint, right now we have a problem with the housing schemes that has been built. I found out a massive problem. When these houses would be handed over to people, there would be a serious issue which the Chinese created for us. Whereas they should have had local persons wire these buildings, they allowed the Chinese to do it. So, that is an issue. When you come down to the ramps and all that stuff, we from the Council of Disabled, we have suggested that somebody from within the organization even sit on one of those boards to see things being implemented. Because we who are born with a situation, we know the situation as is. We are faced with the challenges.
You lived experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For argument's sake, I'm 47.
Okay.
I was born as I am.
I remember you from childhood. See you moving around, and you keep moving around.
Exactly.
You keep moving.
Exactly. My biggest problem right now is the bus terminal. At this point, I'm looking, my head is hot because I'm thinking, Lord, I need a transport. Busheju. Well.
Wow. So today's transportation challenge has been received.
But normally, on a daily basis, I would normally wait till after 6 and then take bus when the bus coming in.
Oh, okay.
Take it as it comes in there.
Okay.
And I actually had to do that via going to the management on the terminal to be able to jump that bus there. And there are still wardens who would say, no, you can't, this, no, you can't. And it's like, what do you want to do? Transportation is a serious. It's a serious
issue.
challenge.
It's a serious
because
challenge.
as somebody once said about a gentleman or person who's on a wheelchair, who the bus driver would come out and assist.
Yes, they do. In the Willis area. I see it.
How often do you see that?
Almost daily, yes.
How often?
Yes.
We would see that. So we do have challenges across this island that needs to be sorted out. But from the top, they need to sit down and pass the right laws. Yeah, we need the right sets of laws and we need the right sets of persons to go around and see that these things are being done.
All right.
Yeah?
Thank you very much, Mr. Latouche. You want to say something?
Yes.
Derica wants to say something.
Mr. Latouche brought up the issue about the bus terminal. I also have an issue myself. Can the lights please be on during the day on the bus terminal? It's too dark, especially if I come out through town with the sunlight.
Yeah.
Sometimes my eyes will take a while to adjust to the dark light. And I will have a huge challenge getting in the bus. Sometimes I cannot see at all, I just guess in. Because, I know the bus is. Yeah, so can the light please be on? It's not. Yes,
Thank you, Derica. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Just to add with something, I actually, because my daughter is disabled, normally involve myself in anything that's probably concern disability. And I did a course while I was in TAMCC, which I think they had at Lincoln College. I don't remember, but it was done in more than one Caribbean country where we did it. And it was, the reason they said they were doing it is because they had a research done in England. And what they had found out is that those people, whether it's Down syndromes, special needs and whatever, they were more willing to be and work much more on the job than what we call normal people. So they're more productive if they are there. So what they do in part of the training is that you're aware of the disabilities and you don't give them work so that will hinder them. But they even stay, as I said, they even stay longer hours because they love what they do, And I'm saying that, look at this is here, and I'm saying that from time to time we have issues in the primary school, secondary schools where they normally have counselors, right? And they don't have enough, She on a wheelchair could sit behind a desk, and she can get it. But as I said again, there is an issue once you have a disability that probably you're not supposed to work. You're not supposed to work, but you're not funding them. So best they go to work. So I think these are some of the things that we really need to look at, right? Again, with you all, I would like you all to take up the issue of the transportation. I mean, from time to time, I just kind of wonder how we think in Grenada. Because I don't know why is it that we still have the small bus. I could understand when the big bus started, some of the corners was a problem. But all that has been fixed. You are not comfortable in those small buses on them. And because of that, special need people cannot even get access, as you said, is probably impaired. You have to fight to get into the buses. I think some law have to be inclusive of, depending on which district, that you have to have 2 buses in that, the bigger buses or something, so that these people could get access. We have to fight for them. They're not supposed to be seeing those kinds of trouble. That, as a matter of fact, like the course that I did, for instance, it was just doing in a nice way where you plan for the disability students, where you don't teach for long periods, just a small, like 50 minutes, and then after you give them something to do, and then leave them, let them do it, and then you could turn another topic and let them go home and make sure that they have the stuff to do, and so they have to be included, because people always say that they're disabled, but as I say, some of them more able than us. You understand? So we have to, if we're talking about a country going forward and transformation, we have to include everybody. And so therefore everything has to be there for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Philip. Another question?
So it's not a question, it's just a comment. Kimani spoke about the buses, and we have had many reports of bus drivers not even wanting to take persons with disabilities.
That's sad.
Yeah, and it really is sad. Also, I know Kimani would remember GNCD, we were with working along with the RGPF in getting persons with disability passes. And they would have the pass, and still some of the police still would not even allow them to take the buses.
Exactly. Yeah. Or parking.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yep. But then as Mr. Phillips speaking here about the parking, the parks are there for persons with disabilities, and there are times I go places and the parks are occupied by persons who can move about normal. And at times I'm like, the park here is for persons with disabilities, you know what question I just get for that? But my mouth ain't blessed, so I just cuss them back.
You're Grenadian. Any other comments?
But then, as I was saying, Kimani, that's just the issue with the passes. We have passes. We have been working with the RGPF, but for some reason, a lot of the police still, they're not letting the persons use the pass as they're supposed to.
Well, then...
Kimani's here. Kimani can attest to that.
Kimani?
Yes, I can attest to that. And sometime, I think it was 2 years ago, I had to actually bring up a certain individual in front of a senior police officer, all because the police was like, I'm not going to recognize this. When the former commissioner of police signed the thing, and you say you're not going to recognize his signature.
Wow.
That is just how we are in this country, right?
Okay.
On the issue of discrimination, as Zinzi raised the point earlier, I'll just go back on that. I remember when I finished study, a lot of persons approached me and they were like, hold on, are you sure you're capable of playing with fire, playing with current, be it electronics or doing a building? I'm like, hang on, let me show you what I could do. You don't tell me I cannot do this. And that is a mistake that Grenadians, we still have, and we need to let go of. We need to look at people for who they are, and not for how they look, or even for that matter, how they move around.
I want to ask you, Mr. Latouche, how do you get clients? Talk to me about your clients.
Well, actually, there's a lot of people who have been so satisfied that they would normally recommend.
Good.
You know, sometimes I see all sorts of positive reviews on Facebook. Because I use Facebook, I use there's a couple of other sites, like Instagram. I have, I'm looking at going into that one shortly, but just chance I don't have to really get into it, you know. But yeah, and because of and one of the things I normally do, I normally from time to time change up certain postings that I make, and my certificate. There's a reason why I would post that one. And people are like, why are you posting a certificate? I'm like, hey, I'm posting this so that before you see me with a pair of crutches,
you see my certification.
You see what I'm qualified to do.
Okay. I wanted to ask both Zinzi and Jerica about... Somebody had a question? Do you have a question? Okay. So my question to you, I have to get back to because I forgot it. I was listening to you, it was here and I didn't write it down, so. Okay, it will come back. But it's the both of you I wanted to ask a question to. Anybody else?
Hi again, Ramona from UN Women. You were mentioning, you mentioned something about not wanting to post a video. And I wanted to ask about how you felt if you were feeling the impacts of social media, because I've been seeing a lot of. That was your question?
Social media.
You're welcome. Because I've been seeing a lot of persons with disabilities becoming influencers. There's Blaine Tobes. He's very famous in the U.S. In the UK. There is it's a guy with a W. Remember his name? He does sign language, and they had him interpreting for Eminem and Dr. Dre when they did the Super Bowl, and they brought him back the next year. And then there is this other girl with cerebral palsy who posted about her journey. She was disabled when she had a car crash. So you're finding that there's a lot of information coming out, seems to be having a good impact, at least online. So is that transferring to you in real life? Is the information in social media helping your journey?
social media has helped me improve my confidence because I learn about a lot of other persons with disability and how far they got in life. So social media has helped me with that. And yes, I do post a lot on social media and I love it, so yes.
Zinzi?
Same here. I use social media a lot. I'm very active online. I use it to promote my business or whatever hobbies that I am into. So I use social media, mostly Instagram, I would say, and I'm always on TikTok. But yes, I do use social media a lot. I think that social media is a great tool because you can see people share their experiences and it helps build your confidence as an individual to see, oh, this person is doing this and they're being confident in what they are doing, so you can do it too. And so I post as well. I share my stories as well on TikTok. So, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for bringing that question because that's what I wanted to ask.
And one more before I forget. Zinzi, you've mentioned your business several times. Can you talk a bit about it? Like, what's it called? What do you do?
My business is called Daisy's Designs. I do graphic design, whether it be in flyers or book covers. I enjoy doing book covers because I'm an author. So I also help people with formatting their books.
Yeah, she helped me with mine.
Yes, and besides, besides helping with graphic design, I also help with editing. So that is what my business mostly incorporates.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I would say I think the committee could take these things and put it out there for them on the government page and stuff and promote them because they do fantastic. I also want to add Zinzi, she's a powerful lady as well. She wrote a book, I can't remember the name, but it actually what it did and get some high ratings and they're rated with one of the top artists in psychology. Yes, and you rated because, to tell you the truth, and Zinzi, don't worry, I'll see what I say. It actually, Zinzi was explaining in the book or talking about her personal life and how at times, it was so stressful that she was thinking about taking her life and whatever, and how she come up with ways of, putting it off and stuff like that. So I think, things like that, I think you should pay attention to because these books are books that probably could be used to help others to read because if it comes even within our locality, it could help others find ways of when the stress meets you and the peer pressure meets you, as I said, what people do all the time, you can find your own ways, in coming up and solving those problems. So I think we should really help them with doing that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Phillip. Thank you.
She could say she's just normal like everybody else.
Yep, we go through the ups and the downs. Yes. So if we do not have any more comments or questions, we can say thank you to Zinzi and Derica for sharing their lived experiences. I do hope that the Ministry of Social Services Department, Gender Affairs, I'm not saying it correctly, but don't sue me. I hope that you're listening. My friend here, Derica, is interested in social work. Definitely, if it was up to me, I would get her moving. Zinzi is studying psychology and already has her own business because she said to me she wants to help people. Okay? And that's from an interview I did with her, so I know that for a fact. So if it was up to me, I would find ways and means to get them moving and find out what others who would like to share with the rest of our society. And so now I move to our country coordinator, UN country coordinator, Ms. Fiona Sandy, to say the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for this evening. We could not have done it without you. And one of the fears that I had for this evening's event was that persons would feel too concerned about coming to speak about their personal experiences with disabilities, because of course, you know, you make it more public, and if you're already being, you know, facing stigma and discrimination, then that could probably worsen it if you're, you know, in the public eye. So I really, really, truly want to thank our panelists for their presence, for their braveness, and I must say, I had a hard day today. And I'm not saying this to be facetious. I really, the smiles, lovely smiles, have really calmed me down from the hectic day. And I just thank you for being such beautiful and forthright and forthcoming young women. And Jacinta from the Ministry of Social Development spoke a little bit about how this came up, and I've always tried to, when we have United Nations Day on the 24th of October, I always try to see what we can do to either be more be more inclusive, highlight the Sustainable Development Goals, which I have behind me here, and of course areas like inclusion. Whether it be persons with disability, persons living in rural areas, carriacou, Petit Martinique, whatever it is. The whole idea of the Sustainable Development Goals is underpinned by the human rights principle of leave no one behind. And I sat with social development and they said, you know, we really need to do something more with disabilities. And I said, how can I help? And so we sat and we planned this event. And we're so happy that you all showed out and you were all a part of this. So thank you so much. Before I finish, I have to thank our sponsors. This year, in an effort to accelerate progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals, the UN Secretary General has asked that we all, individual, community, government, private sector, CSO, civil society organization, join the Act Now campaign to see how we could accelerate progress towards the goals. What can you do? What can I do? What can we do together? Strengthen partnerships. Goal number 17, partnerships for the goals. And so, as soon as I mentioned SDGs, disabilities, WINDREF came on board, WINDREF, St. George's University, and we have one of the representatives here, Dr. Trevor Noel. Thank you so much. They offered us this venue for this forum. Flow Grenada, who has offered us the live streaming technical persons that we have behind there. And this event, because of Flow Grenada and TNR Communications, this event is being live streamed on Flow's page. I think it's their Facebook page. It's being live streamed on GIS. And I know that the United Nations, Barbados, and the Eastern Caribbean Facebook page, if it's not live streaming, they're going to pin from GIS to actually have more persons throughout the region see this. So I just really have to thank everybody for their kind participation and contribution. Thank you. Sorry. Somebody just reminded me, just one last note I have to say, that this year is the 75th, I don't know if Juana mentioned it, but this year is the 75th anniversary of the, perfect. So this is why you're seeing that Human Rights 75 up there. Once again, thank you. Have a safe trip home. And Sarana, any final words from the Sarana's a panelist. She's an advocate for persons with disabilities, so she's a panelist. Final words.
Okay, Zinzi.
Yeah. Any final words? I guess just it's on. It's supposed to be on. I would say that I hope going forward things would change and I would be able to feel more included into society That's what I have to say.
Thank you, Lindsay. Derica?
Thank you for allowing Zinzi and I to express our experience, and I really hope that all the ideas will be implemented in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is my mic on? I'm always having that issue. Okay, so disclaimer again, I'm not 21, but I must say I am happy to be on this, to be a part of this panel discussion. When I was asked, I was like, sure, fine, I'm in. And when I heard it was about disabilities and inclusion, I'm like, yeah, right up my alley. So, you know, the fact of the matter is we are all human beings, whether it's mental, physical, or whatever disability. And so listening to Zinzi and Derica, it's exactly many of the stigmas out there, the challenges they face. I basically just let it ride off my shoulder because I've come to a point where I don't care. But there are those out there who are struggling. And so because of our behaviors, because of how we treat each other, it affects, you know? So my wish is that what was said here today was listened, and we hope that there is going to be change, not in the future, but as soon as possible. So thank you very much for this opportunity, Ms. Sandy.
I would just like to say something when I'm just at the social department, and so I'm now working and I'm free and I'm ready to help in any way. I'm an electronic engineer and I'm just finishing my master's in renewable energy. Wow. So in any way that I can help and be involved to help all people, you know, so you could just come to me for that. Okay, the one who's here probably louder. Yeah, so I was just saying that I am volunteering myself to assist in any way possible that you all would love to. Not working at the moment, so I have a lot of free times. I'm an electronic engineer, so I know stuff. I can fix wheelchairs. I'm technical, so I in any ways that I can help, I'm in order to help. And I am thinking of actually a company that is non-profit that would go along with the renewable energy so that I could assist and teach young ones to do it, and probably special needs people just the same, or if they have in time coming when they're getting an opportunity to put it onto their houses and stuff like that, I'll be more than willing to do that. So you can reach out to me at any time. I'll be happy to help.
Wow, thank you very much, Mr. Philip.
In the spirit of partnership, I just wanted to let him know that I don't know if they're still doing it, but Republic Bank was offering some support, financial, to persons who have projects in renewable energy. Oh, yes. So I don't know if it's still ongoing. You can check them.
Sometime, I think it was last year, or sometime this year, I wanted to get into actually giving back to society a bit. From on the electrical standpoint, let's say somebody's house has been burnt. I don't mind coming in once somebody could buy the material. I don't mind pitching in and doing it.
So you help rewire the house?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking to myself, here's what. One, I got the opportunity to go and study. I'm qualified. Now I could show myself off via, not because I'm quote unquote disabled, but here's what I just did for somebody in need. Yeah? So this is something I'm looking at doing for possibly next year or even later on down this year, because the year is not done as yet. Yeah?
So we have come to the end of this wonderful sharing discussion on disabilities and inclusion. We want to thank our viewers online. Thank you for staying with us, and thank you for sharing your comments. So we want to say thank you to everyone Be safe, drive safely, and Mr. Latouche, you're lucky you're getting your transportation to the seaway. So take care, everyone. Be safe. Thank you.